night was thick with static, your tenant humming, files stacked like rusted steel. You want answers, fast, but not guesses. Copilot is quick, friendly. It skims your M3 and 65 streets and hands you a summary. Good enough for small talk, not for policy, not for risk. RAG cuts deeper. It drags truth from your own stack, cites it, stands by it. So here's the map. When Copilot is enough, when you need your own pipeline, and why teams blow this call, then pay for it in rework, tickets, and trust. Stay sharp. There's a secret step that makes this 10x easier. We'll get there. Now, we define the players. Defining the players. What is Copilot and LLMs? Start with the engine. Large language models. They speak like us because they're trained on oceans of public text. Patterns, tokens, next word bets. They don't know. They predict. That prediction is powerful. Drafts, summaries, code sketches, meeting notes cleaned and sorted. Fast. But down here, your world is narrow, specific, messy. HR policies with last year's date. A procurement form that changed last month. A device standard buried in a PDF on a forgotten SharePoint stack. A plain LLM won't see it, because in this city the model only knows what you feed it now, not what you hid back then, not what changed yesterday. Enter Copilot. Think of it like a streetwise guide inside Microsoft 365. It can walk Outlook alleys, Teams corridors, SharePoint towers, OneDrive backrooms. It reads what you can read. It stays in bounds with your permissions. It drafts replies, writes meeting recaps, pulls related files you already have rights to. It's good at what's in my lane right now. It's safe, governed, and fast because the terrain is familiar. Your identity controls the gates. Your data doesn't leave the precinct. Where does Copilot shine? Everyday flow. You're buried in email. You need a clean summary. You want a quick brief for a meeting using files from your team site. You want to rephrase a doc in your voice. You're staying inside M365. No custom data pipelines. No special retrieval logic. No extra tooling. Straight utility. But here's where most people mess up. They expect Copilot to know the factory floor SOP, the onboarding maze, the device compliance footnote from a PDF that never made it to the right library. They ask it to cross-check ERP fields or explain a CRM status code that lives outside the M365 city limits. Then they blame the model when the answer leans generic. We know better. It's not a mind reader. It's a runner working a single district. So what's missing? Retrieval. Controlled. Precise. You need a librarian who knows where the bodies are buried. A way to turn your PDFs, web pages, wikis, and databases into fast, relevant context at the exact moment of the question. That's Retrieval Augmented Generation. RAG. It's not a model trick. It's an information supply chain. The reason this works is simple. The model's memory is short, prompts are finite, but you can fetch just the right chunks at query time. Feed them in. Ask the model to answer only from those sites. You get grounded output. You get proof. And when your data shifts, you reindex. No retraining, no long cycles, just fresher truth. Now let's be clear. Copilot can already surface some of your files if they live in M365 and you have access. It's handy, but it won't build you a custom index across SharePoint, file shares, websites, and line of business systems. It won't let you tune chunk sizes for a gnarly SOP. It won't force citations, run retrieval evaluations, or give you a custom tool to hit an API and pull a live value mid-answer. That's outside its beat. Think constraints. Copilot is bounded by your tenant's native graph and its own product surface. That's good for speed, great for governance. But if you need cross-system truth, strict grounding, or repeatable answers tied to version sources, you'll feel the walls closing in. This clicked for me when a team asked Copilot to untangle a device hardening policy. The doc was split across 3 PDFs. One was stale. One lived on a file server. One had the only correct baseline. Copilot did its best with what it could see. The answer sounded right. It wasn't. Service desk tickets spiked. Minutes wasted. Trust bled. With RAG, you don't pray. You prepare, you ingest, you chunk, you tag. You index with vectors so meaning survives paraphrase. You fetch the closest chunks. You show citations. You add a hard rule. If nothing fits, say you don't know. Hallucinations drop. Confidence climbs. If you remember nothing else, Copilot is your inbox partner. RAG is your knowledge pipeline. Use the guide when you're inside the district. Build the pipeline when the stakes demand proof. Defining the players. What is RAG? Retrieval Augmented Generation. RAG isn't magic. It's plumbing, cold pipes, hot truth, 3 moving parts. Retrieval, augmentation, generation. Retrieval first. You build a private library. Not glossy, brutal. Your PDFs, wikis, pages, tables, tickets, change logs, SOP binders that smell like dust and denial. You don't throw them at a model. You process them. You slice them into small, useful pieces, chunks. Then you tag them with metadata so a machine can smell context like a bloodhound. You vectorize the chunks so meaning holds when the words don't match. That's the search fuel. Augmented next. A question walks in. Plain clothes. You convert the question into a vector. You hunt the nearest chunks in your index. You pull back the top few that matter. You package them as context. Not all your data, just the right shards. Tight, relevant, dated, sourced. You add instructions. Answer only from these sites. Quote the source. If it's not here, say you don't know. That's the leash. Generation last. Now the model speaks. But it's grounded. It's standing on your sources. It doesn't riff from memory. It reasons with the pages you fed it seconds ago. The answer lands with receipts, citations, no bluffing. The thing most people miss? RAG isn't about shoving PDFs into a hungry mouth. It's a supply chain. Data in, chunks clean, indexes tuned, queries tight, evaluation constant. Break any link, and the outputs rot. Why this beats fine-tuning for business? Because policies move, SOPs shift, fields change. You don't want to retrain a model every time procurement updates a line. With RAG, you just fix the library. Raindex, you keep the same engine, you change the fuel. Now, how does this flow in Azure streets? Azure AI Foundry gives you the scaffolding. You ingest from SharePoint stacks, web crawls, file shares, maybe databases if you map exports. You chunk with strategies that match the form. Headings matter for SOPs. Tables need careful parsing. You add metadata, version, owner, date, system. Then you vectorize. Embeddings turn text into numbers that remember intent. You store those vectors in Azure AI Search or a vector store that plays nice. That's your index. Fast, searchable, ready when the question hits. When the question hits, the retriever goes to work. It finds the closest matches by meaning, not just keywords. You can do hybrid search too. Semantics plus text, because in this city precision is survival. You set strictness. Loose finds more, risks noise. Tight finds less, boosts trust. Dial it to your risk. Then you augment the prompt. You inject the retrieve chunks clean and labeled. You set rules, cite sources, stay within content, no inventing. You pass that to the model you deployed. Doesn't need to be exotic, just consistent. Now, guardrails. You add don't know behavior. You cap answer length. You require citations to render with the output. You log which chunks were used. You track latency, hit rates, and nulls, because a pipeline you can't measure is a pipeline you can't trust. Common traps down here. Chunks too big. Model gets lost in the sprawl. Chunks too small. Context shatters. No metadata. You can't filter stale from fresh. Wrong embeddings for your language or domain. Retrieval returns pretty but wrong passages. No evaluation loop. Nobody checks if the top 5 actually answer the question. The game changer nobody talks about? Feedback. You let users flag bad answers. You fix the chunk or the source. You reindex. Quality rises. Trust follows. If you remember nothing else, remember this. RAG makes the model local. It speaks in your dialect. It cites your law. It stops pretending. Because in this city, answers without sources are just noise in the rain. The Copilot advantage. General knowledge and speed. Copilot moves fast. That's the point. You're buried in noise. Mail flooding your Outlook alleys. Teams threads stacked like crates. Files you can see. Files you're allowed to see. Copilot walks that beat with you. It reads the room. Drafts a reply that sounds like you. Pulls 3 relevant docs from your team's site. Builds a meeting brief in seconds. Summarizes a chat war into clean bullet lines. You don't hunt. You don't stitch. You just ship. Because in this city, time kills. Copilot saves minutes per move. Add that up across a week, across a team, across a quarter, you feel the lift. Now, the reason it's smooth. Identity, it wears your badge. It respects your scope. It doesn't break out of the precinct. No awkward permissions chase. No custom pipes to maintain. No embeddings to generate. It rides the Microsoft graph like a subway map. Predictable, governed, quietly efficient. Drafting is where it shines. Cold email to warm intro. Rough notes to clean minutes. A messy deck turned tight. Rewrite in your tone. Fix spelling. Strip fluff. That's breakfast work for Copilot. It's also a decent scout. Show me related docs for this meeting. It maps your OneDrive and SharePoint lanes. It surfaces what's already in reach. You pick, you move. And here's a truth the tourists miss. Sometimes you just need good enough. A passable draft. A summary that gets you oriented. A quick check of what's changed in a folder you own. These aren't court cases. They're errands. Copilot eats errands. Now, boundaries. Because down here in the undernet, speed can blind you. Copilot won't rewire your knowledge. It won't cross the fences into ERP vaults or that legacy file, share the last admin sealed with tape. It won't enforce answer only with citations on your command. It won't let you tune chunk sizes or run retrieval evaluations. It can pull what's visible in your M365 lanes. Useful, but not surgical. So when do you stay with it? When the task lives in Outlook, Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive. When the answer is a draft, a summary, a rewrite, a quick list. When governance and simplicity matter more than custom reach. When you don't need strict grounding or cross-system joins. I watched a PM use it to prep a vendor call. 30 messages, 4 files. She asked for a 1-page brief with open issues and decisions. Copilot spat it out in under a minute. She tweaked 3 lines. Done. That's the lane. The mistake is trying to make it a judge, a compliance oracle, a cross-system agent. You ask it about a policy that changed last month in a PDF it can't see. It answers smooth, generic, and wrong. You won't spot the fracture until the ticket queue swells. We've seen that movie. Use the runner for what it is. Fast, local, polite with your time. Once you nail that, everything else clicks. You don't overreach. You don't overtrust. You keep the errands light and the stakes low. And when the question demands proof, you switch tools. Because in this city, speed matters. But truth wins, the RAG necessity. When proprietary data is king, some questions wear badges. Proprietary, high stakes, no guesses allowed. That's when the librarian steps in. RAG. You've got policies outside the M365 glow. Device baselines buried in stale PDFs. Onboarding rules half in SharePoint, half on a file server. SOPs that live as word, wiki, and rumor. Copilot can't patrol those alleys. RAG can. You build the pipeline. Ingest the mess. Chunk the docs to match how people ask. Headings with steps. Tables preserved, not mangled. Metadata stamped owner, version date, system sensitivity. Then vectors. Embeddings turn language into coordinates. Meaning survives paraphrase. Azure AI Search holds the map. Fast nearest neighbor. Hybrid with semantics when keywords help. Now the question hits. Which device hardening baseline applies to contractors on macOS Q3 revision? The retriever hunts. Nearest chunks by meaning. Filters by version equals Q3. Owner equals security, region equals global, strictness tuned to avoid noise. 3 passages come home. You package them. You say answer only from these sites. If missing, say you don't know. Receipts required. The model speaks, grounded. It quotes the clause. It links the source. It names the revision. No riff, just law. Policy and compliance Q&A is built for this. Employees stop guessing. They stop pinging the desk for the same 12 questions. Citations build trust. If a doc is wrong, you fix the source. Reindex. The answer changes tomorrow. No retraining loop. That's power. SOPs next. Manufacturing, IT operations, HR workflows. These aren't poems. They're sequences. RAG turns them into step-by-step guidance. Chunk by heading and step number. Preserve warnings. Include preconditions. At query time, retrieve the exact step and its guardrails. Ask the model to render a checklist, not a story. You get action, not vibes. Then CRM and ERP context. Dynamics, SAP, Salesforce. Copilot can't reach the transaction guts. RAG can unify the narrative. Embed release notes, field dictionaries, integration wikis, add tools for live lookups, read-only APIs, status checks, inventory pulls. The model retrieves the spec, calls the tool, and explains the result with cites. Now the agent doesn't invent, it confirms. This is where proprietary data rules. You need control. Control of chunk sizes and overlap so meaning holds. Control of retrieval filters to lock scope. Control of grounding to force citations. Control of tools to fetch live truth. And governance. Foundry gives you safe lanes. Data boundaries. Role-based access. Versioned indexes. Monitored runs. Responsible AI hooks so you can trace why an answer said what it said. Leaders sleep better when the chain of custody is clear. Cost and complexity know the shape. Azure AI search carries the index. Tier by traffic. Hybrid search helps accuracy. Embeddings cost per 1,000 tokens. Batch at ingestion. Re-embed only change chunks. Model hosting depends on traffic and context size. Keep prompts tight. Cite only what's needed. Storage is cheap. Bad indexing isn't. Plan your fields. Plan your filters. When is RAG not optional? When correctness beats speed. When answers must cite chapter and verse. When knowledge lives beyond M365. When workflows require tools to act, not just speak. When you need repeatability, same question, same answer, same source. I walked a tenant that was bleeding data, policy scattered, dupes everywhere. Teams asked Copilot for clarity. It smiled and guessed. Good tone, bad facts. Tickets stacked like bodies in the alley. We built the pipeline, index across SharePoint and file servers, trash the dupes, tag the truth, force citations, set don't know as a badge of honor. Service desk load dropped, trust climbed. Not because the model got smarter, because the library did. And this one matters. RAG is not a feature you toggle on Tuesdays. It's a discipline, sources owned, pipelines monitored, evaluations weekly, users in the loop. You measure retrieval hit rate, you inspect top K quality, you track don't know and fix the gap. Quality is a habit, so when proprietary data runs the show, you pick the librarian, you build the pipes, you demand receipts. Because in this city, your knowledge is the currency. Guard it, index it, retrieve it clean, then let the model speak and stand by it. Case study, global manufacturing company, anonymized. The tenant was humming. A global manufacturer, plants on 3 continents, policies stacked like sheet metal. They wanted truth on demand. Not vibes, not guesses. The service desk was drowning in repeat questions. Compliance was a rumor. Documents fought each other in the dark. They tried going faster with generic tools. Speed without ground. It backfired. So we built a librarian. Private, quiet, Azure streets. RAG as the spine. Indexes with teeth. Citations mandatory. A team's doorway. Ask, get the clause, see the source. Confidence returned. Tickets fell. Leadership finally saw the shape of their own rules and believed them. Before, without RAG, the pain points. It started ugly. 4,800 policy files scattered like rust, SharePoint towers, old file servers, email attachments masquerading as truth, unlabeled, duplicated, stale. Employees walked in with the same 12 questions. Security, devices, onboarding, travel allowances. 12 to 15 hits a day on the desk every day, each one costing 5 to 7 minutes of hunt and peck search. Keyword roulette, open a PDF, skim, hope the date isn't lying, open the twin, different wording, which one wins? Nobody knew. Copilot helped in the shallow lanes. It could find what the employee already had rights to in M365. It summarized, it drafted, it saved seconds. But down here, the signal lived outside the glow. The correct baseline sat in a PDF on a file share. The update lived in a wiki the team forgot to publish. A meeting note contradicted both. People asked, the system guessed. Nice tone, bad facts. The fallout? Errors in the field. Wrong device hardening steps, onboarding detours, policy exceptions issued on the wrong revision. The service desk became referee and archaeologist. Trust bled out in small cuts. The cost wasn't just minutes. It was rework, repeat tickets, and risk. And every fresh hire learned a bad truth. Finding policy was slower than ignoring it. That's how tenants bleed, quietly in the paperwork alleys. No scandal, just drag. After, with Azure RAG solution, the transformation, we turned on a light. All policy and SOPs flowed into Azure AI search. No magic, just discipline. Crawl SharePoint, sweep the file servers, stage the sources, chunk each document by heading and clause, preserve tables, tag every shard with owner, version, effective date, system, sensitivity. Then embeddings, vectors that remember meaning when words change, hybrid search wired for speed and precision. The librarian woke up. A Teams agent became the doorway. Employees asked the same questions. The retriever hunted by meaning, then filtered by version and owner. Top passages returned with receipts. We wrapped the prompt with hard rules. Answer only from these sites. Quote the source. If missing, say you don't know. The model spoke like a clerk with a case file. Concise, grounded, 2 seconds, not 7 minutes. Load on the desk dropped by a third. Not because answers were flashy, because they were consistent. Contradictions surfaced as alerts. 2 PDFs claiming different baselines, flagged. Owners notified. Fix the library, Raindex. Tomorrow's answers aligned. No retraining loop. No waiting on model updates, just fresher truth. People trusted the machine again. Not because it was smart, because it was verifiable. Every answer carried a source. The agent didn't bluff. It opted out when blind. That small honesty turned users into partners. They reported gaps. We patched sources. The librarian got sharper. The city got quieter. Credibility boosters. Why RAG wins on trust and accuracy. Here's the thing most leaders miss. Speed without proof is theater. In policy work, tone isn't truth. RAG forces receipts. Citations aren't a nice to have. They're the contract. When the answer links to clause 4.3, revision Q3, owned by security, the debate ends. People stop arguing with each other. They argue with the source, and that's fixable. The biggest win wasn't speed. It was accuracy. You'll hear that line from the floor. Because once the librarian stands up, employees stop second-guessing the clerk at the window. They click the source, they see the date, they move with confidence. That's how you erase the quiet drag that kills quarters. Users trusted the answers more because citations were mandatory. Trust isn't about personality, it's about auditability. Mandatory citations make every response traceable. It also makes QA measurable. You can test retrieval. Did the top passages actually answer the question? If not, fix chunks or tags. Evaluate again. Quality climbs. The IT department didn't need to retrain a single model, just structured their data. That line matters to budgets. Fine-tuning sounds heroic. It's also slow and brittle for policy work. Policies evolve. SOPs shift. With RAG, the engine stays put. The fuel changes. Raindex changed chunks. Keep embeddings current. No 6-week model cycles. No vendor lock to a training pipeline you can't control. And governance rocks steady. Azure AI Foundry gives you lanes. Identity through Entra, role-based access. Data stays in the tenant's shadow. Versioned indexes, monitoring on latency, hit rate, nulls, citations. You can show a chain of custody from question to source. Responsible AI hooks carry the paperwork you need when someone asks, "Why did it say that?" In short, RAG doesn't pretend to know. It proves what it knows. That's why it wins. Choosing your AI strategy. Here's the map in one line. Copilot is the runner for your M365 streets. RAG is the librarian for your law. Use the runner for drafts, summaries, and quick pulls inside the district. Bring the librarian when correctness, citations, and cross-system truth matter. If you're ready to build that pipeline, subscribe, then watch the next episode where we blueprint a minimal RAG flow, costs, and guardrails. Make the call, pick the lane, move,